The oldest law office in the United States needs our help. There's something here that's going to totally destroy this little building if we don't do something about it soon. This work is being conducted at the direction of the Salem County Historical Society in Salem, New Jersey. It's already started. You see how the brick is beginning to deteriorate behind the mortar. The mortar is the worst problem here. This modern Portland cement will eventually destroy these old soft bricks. It's bad now, but believe me, this will only get worse. I know because I've seen it happen many times. I'll have to remove this gray Portland cement very carefully. It'll be an almost surgical operation. If I tried to chip it out with a hammer and chisel, the bricks would most likely be destroyed. Acid is also totally out of the question. If they give me this project, I'll have to use the right tool for this job. The Dremel tool is very effective and in the right hands is capable of great precision. That's exactly what we'll need. Repointing is going to be relatively easy. I'll use all traditional materials made myself from raw materials gathered locally. Now that I know what this is going to involve, I can give a reasonable quote for this part of the job. Whenever I do this type of project, I try to put it into context. You can literally walk through this town from end to end and trace 300 years of brick history in this country. I need to take a look at the roof. These shingles are still pretty solid. The ends are soft and starting to rot, but this roof should hold out for another year. The brickwork is definitely more important at the moment. There are 8 hips to work here, so that'll add to the overall price. Compared to the log cabin roof I finished here last spring, this roof should probably show a bit more refinement. This mostly entails just a clean square edge on every single shingle. None of these irregular ends you would find in more modest rural buildings. It's a simple process. There is some interior work to do, so I'll take a look. The British Army occupied Salem for a few days in the spring of 1778. This was a doctor's office at the time, and it was looted. It wasn't the only place in town to suffer. The interior appears much as it did in 1778, but I've got a bit of plaster work to do. When I'm dealing with plaster in a masonry building, I have one question. Is the plaster directly on the stone or brick, or is it on wooden lath? Let's find out. Inside of the exterior brick wall. The plaster appears to only be about an inch thick, directly on the brick. That makes life easy. The remaining plaster is generally in good condition aside from a few minor cracks. Nothing too complicated. It's quite refreshing to find a place that values its history this much. The Quaker influence is still very strong around here. They're having a problem with small creatures getting in these vents. I'll have to tackle that problem too. And here is the second oldest courthouse in the country still in operation today. It was built in 1735. This lets me put everything in context. Our office was also built in 1735. They were originally located just across the street from each other. The bricks for the courthouse were, like the vast majority of bricks in the colonies, locally made. They would mold the bricks and fire them in a temporary kiln known as a clamp. It's a bit of conjecture on my part, but I think the best bricks from the clamp were used for the front of the courthouse. The less desirable, softer bricks were used for the interior and sidewalls of the courthouse. Then, there were probably enough extras to build the office. When you're hand-making bricks, for a big job like this courthouse, you'd make thousands of extras to make up for those that don't come out right. That's my theory, and there are two ways to prove it conclusively, but I'll discuss that later. And now it's time for one of my least favorite parts of any job, coming up with a price. The Library of Congress had some drawings and photos of this building that were somewhat helpful. The building was moved twice in its history. Fortunately, it was moved in one piece. Otherwise, this building would be doomed. The mortar work is going to be the most difficult. $800 for each of the 8 walls should cover that. If it wasn't for the hips, the new roof would be about half this price. You know what? The Historical Society's always been good to me, so I'll give them the plaster. Same goes for the vents. All in all, I hope it's a fair price. If you made it this far, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. It really does help us out.